Welcome back to CIA Declassified. Imagine a world where the borders of nations are rendered irrelevant by sheer velocity. In the late 1950s, the agency found itself in a corner. The U-2 was no longer untouchable, and the Iron Curtain was growing taller. They needed a machine that didn't just fly. It needed to scream through the stratosphere at speeds that would melt a standard aircraft. They weren't looking for a plane. They were looking for a way to outrun the very concept of a surface-to-air missile. In the shimmering heat of the Nevada desert, at a site known only as the Ranch, or Area 51, a group of engineers led by the legendary Kelly Johnson began a project that many thought was impossible. They were building a plane made of titanium that could cruise at 3 times the speed of sound. This was the dawn of Project OXCART. How did a machine that looked like a spaceship get a name that sounds like a medieval farm tool? The name Project OXCART was chosen specifically for its mundane nature. Factual records from the agency indicate that security protocols demanded a drab cryptonym to deflect interest from the technology. The OX prefix was a random internal designator, while CART was meant to imply a slow logistics vehicle. It was the ultimate linguistic camouflage for the fastest aircraft in human history. At Mach 3, the aircraft's skin would reach temperatures of over 500 degrees Fahrenheit. Project OXCART birthed the A-12. To build it, Lockheed had to source titanium from the Soviet Union using shell companies to hide the buyer's identity. A quote from Chief Engineer Kelly Johnson: "Everything on this aircraft had to be invented from scratch. The tires, the fuel, the lubricants, nothing existed that could survive the heat of Mach 3. End quote. The A-12 was the first aircraft to incorporate stealth technology. The edges of the wings were filled with radar-absorbing wedges made of iron ferrite and asbestos to reduce its signature. A quote from a declassified 1967 mission log. During the overflight of North Vietnam, the pilot observed multiple SAM launches. The A-12 simply increased throttle. The missiles detonated miles behind the aircraft's wake." End quote. The fuel for OXCART, known as JP7, was so stable that you could drop a lightened match into a bucket of it and the match would go out. Operational flights under Black Shield saw the A-12 fly over North Korea to locate the captured USS Pueblo in 1968. Because the titanium skin expanded when heated, the A-12 actually leaked fuel on the runway. The panels only sealed tight once the friction of high-speed flight caused the metal to grow several inches. The A-12 was actually faster and could fly higher than its more famous successor, the SR-71 Blackbird. The agency established a fake company called C&J Tool and Die to purchase the specialized machinery needed to work titanium, which was so hard that it ruined traditional steel factory bits. During testing, a radar range was built at Area 51 to test the A-12's cross-section, leading to the creation of the first ever radar-absorbent paint. A quote from pilot Ken Collins: "Flying the OXCART was like being strapped to a rocket. You didn't just fly it, you managed a series of explosions that kept you in the air." End quote. To keep the pilot cool, the A-12's air conditioning system used the freezing cold JP7 fuel as a heat sink before it was pumped into the engines. Project OXCART was so secret that even the families of the pilots were told they were flying transport planes in the California desert. The A-12's camera system, known as the Type 1, or Type I, I'm not sure, could resolve objects as small as 6 inches from an altitude of 80,000 feet. The aircraft's tires were infused with aluminum powder to help them survive the 500-degree temperatures they would face while tucked inside the wings during flight. When we look at the declassified technical manuals, the most intense redactions are found in a section titled Propulsion and Dimensional Displacement Anomalies. This specific file is the dark star of the archive, containing more blacked out content than any other record from the era, specifically the section on spontaneous temporal drift at Mach 3.2, which is completely obscured. Over 3,200 pages of non-linear navigation logs are also missing. Why is the agency hiding what happens to time when you fly that fast? Get ready for the theory of the titanium travelers. Speculation suggests 2026 UFO sightings are actually OXCART-derived craft jumping through time. This theory claims the redactions in the pilot debrief logs hide the fact that at peak speeds, the A-12 actually moved out of our timeline. Some imagine the 3,200 redacted pages have to do with atmospheric plasma generation and hides a teleportation drive. This theory argues the agency used OXCART to test quantum tunnels in the upper atmosphere. Theorists looking at the blacked out biological residue reports argue that OXCART pilots weren't entirely human. They claim the redactions hide a program where pilots were integrated with the titanium skin to survive dimensional shifts. Gossip suggests the black bars in the stealth frequency modulation section hide an invisibility cloak. This theory posits the A-12 could vanish from the visual spectrum entirely. Rumors say the satellite corroboration errors redactions hide evidence that the A-12 has been seen in the skies recently. They claim the agency still operates time-locked OXCART craft. Some believe the redacted pages hide an interstellar blueprint. This theory suggests the A-12 was a prototype for a spacecraft designed to reach the nearest stars using Mach 30 engines. Speculation persists that the redactions in the ethical implications section prove that the agency can use OXCART to somehow pause time. They claim the missing pages describe a frozen world protocol. Fringe gossip argues the redacted sections describe an infinite energy source hidden in the fuel. This theory claims the pages are a manual for a cold fusion reactor. Whispers from the dark web suggest the redacted sections hide the mythical Aurora plane, which is actually a 2026 OXCART that can fly at Mach 20. Another wild theory claims the missing pages describe a space corridor opened by the A-12. They claim the redactions hide a base on the moon built using OXCART tech. Conspiracy enthusiasts argue that the pilot integration redactions hide the CIA's secret, that the A-12 requires a human CPU to calculate the time jumps. Some whispers suggest the redactions are so heavy because they prove the world is being watched by OXCART craft from the future. Another radical idea suggests the redacted pages contain coordinates for a second Nevada, a shadow facility located on an alternate dimension version of the ranch. Some claim the redacted pages hide the fact that the A-12's engines didn't just burn fuel, they burned probability, allowing the plane to exist in two places at once. Some theorists whisper that the moving map display wasn't just for navigation. They argue the redactions cover a device that allowed pilots to navigate through different historical eras. Gossip says the black bars in some of the documents hide the sound of the void, a frequency recorded at 80,000 feet that can drive humans to madness. Some imagine the redactions describe how the A-12 stole kinetic energy from the Earth's rotation to reach its top speeds, causing minute changes in the length of a day. There is a theory that the titanium used in OXCART developed a memory of every location it flew over, and the redactions describe how to extract that data decades later. And lastly, one of the more extreme speculators argue that the redactions prove the A-12 eventually reached Mach 4, at which point it became pure light, and the accidents were actually pilots successfully ascending to another plane of existence. Was Project OXCART a success? Tactically, it was an unmatched utopia. The A-12 never lost a single pilot to enemy fire. Strategically, it was a brief brilliance. The high cost and the birth of the SR-71 meant the A-12 was only operational for a few short years. As far as technological and operational breakthroughs go, however, the speed of shadows led to breakthroughs that define the aeroscape landscape today, such as titanium manufacturing at scale, the foundation for high-strength parts, radar-absorbent material, RAM, the tech used in every stealth craft, high-temperature lubricants, chemicals allowing engines to run hotter, and electronic intelligence digitization, real-time signal data processing. Project OXCART reminds us that if you move fast enough, you can outrun almost anything. As the files reveal, the future belongs to those who get there first. Thanks for listening, and join us next time as we examine Project Habor. In the humid jungles of Southeast Asia, the agency tried to play God. We'll uncover the silver iodide blueprints and the Rainmaker Manifest. Join us next time for the Weather War. In the meantime, I'll see you in the archives.